out of room here. We may get through it. There's also a sequence on Tikkun Chatzos in the back, a tiv on that. So let's go to number Yud Aleph here on page Kaf Aleph. And it says, "Hayashel Ata Gibor." Now you come to that word Atar Gibor. The Kavin Shetoyer Havaya Zichel to Meralso Hayotze Mechilif Osir Shala'achrov, which is the name Koz. Let's read a light print here real quickly, and there's also a shefa on this. He said, he says, Yekavin Hashem Koz. Shula Hashem Yotze Me'osir Shala'achrov Osir Shem Havaya B'Kavin Shem Havaya Yoher L'Shem Koz. So that was a question yesterday. I managed to remember to do this. It's, these things are not in my habit, so it's been trying. So he says, according to the Nar Shalom, I guess, of BEIN HAMEITZARIM. So Hashem, so then goes the name Koz, Rebbe Shabsai, it says BEIN HAMEITZARIM, Kavin, B'chasimis Havaya Zul B'Koz, Min Havaya Zul L'Hoyer El Osius Achreha Lahem Kazeh Koz. It looks like this, Laham Tikun, and it's the idea is to sweeten those names. So they were saying was something about these names by themselves that imply, I guess, din, if that's what he's saying. Let's go on to number Yud Bet. He said, "V'chayis shlishi sheba'at kadosh." Let me get back here. "V'chayis shlishi sheba'at kadosh." The kaven shetoyer zu havaya el temerasa ba'alef beis the atbash. So for this one, you have to use this atbash, which gives you a gematria of 300, which is the gematria of Elokim the Yudin. So he said, "Who Matz," and it comes out to be in the switch to become this name, Matz. That name Matz comes out to be Elokim the Yudin. So let's read on. He said, "V'hine Shlosha Shemos Hanizkarim," which are Tad, Koz, and Matz. Heim begematria Shin ima Koil. Now we said before that Shin is a gematria 360. 360 is Lashon Nuk because it's a circle. And the circle is, the nook is cyclical or round. Let's look at number Yud Bet down at the bottom of the shefa. And it says like this, of Havaya Shalishi Sheba'osach Sheba'ata Kadosh Dekave Zecha V'Sedach Guvana. So he's just giving it to us according really to what we see in Sidurim Shenidvas V'Sedach HaNidvas. That's the order there. BEIN HAMEITZARIM, so he quotes it now. He says, Hashem Matz of the Siddur Rebbe Shabsai, he says, BEIN HAMEITZARIM, Yekavin B'Chavavayazu B'Chasimalso, which is Yudke Vavke, L'Hoyer El Chiluf Havaya, which is Mach Lam Tiko. So there's nothing really special there. Let's go on to the next one. So now he wants to say another one. He says, "What's this? A kavanas birchus ritzei v'sim shalom." So this is this kavana over here. He said of a birchus ritzei. So when you get to the word ritzei, right, the kavin kimilas ritzei is also. So this is actually a third kavana, which I didn't see on my little sheet, although it mentions it, but it doesn't say specifically to go to ritzei. So now we're going to go to ritzei. Of the Birchus Ritzei, the Kavin Kimilas Ritzei is also the gematria of Elokim Demiluiheim. Elokim Demiluiheim would sign to me that would be more dindik, more like din. Ke Ritzei Him Osim Sarah. So he said, "V'hu sod ve'es Sarah he liyakov umemenu yivosheya," and he should be saved from that. Shehem Shem Elokim Dehein, which he's telling us here is the more severe part. Our baby is very severe. V'sehad BEIN HAMEITZARIM ki min Hashem hanizkar shehu din yotzes b'yamim ha'elech hatzaros. This is where you see all the pain comes out of here. Let's look and we can see if there's anything new to add on it. We'll read the light print. Is it bebirchus v'tzei yekavin shetevis v'tzei odel begematria elokim b'miluei hey, and he shows it to us here. Ve'inyan hu sheritzei hu osius tzara. It's also those words too, which means our pain. Who romas or suffering also. Who romas the tsaros agalos. That's really what the reference is. V'shor shat tsaros hu b'shem elokim b'milu hey. B'shem elokim hu b'bechinas din k'noid. Number test vav. Let's see, we got one more. He says, like parentheses, so shachayamim alalu nikroim beina mitzarim. Tsar is lashon pain. The fish should be yamim alul sholtin saros yotzes merashem anizgar. So he said, which comes from this name. So he said that a big deal would be to sweeten the name 295. There comes a gematria. It should be gematria tzara, 295. But the fisha yotzin saros gam b'shem adni, and because that's also true, because that's the world we live in the world of Malchus. Shehu gam came b'bechinas tzara, kefisha yavor b'smoch, as you're going to explain soon. V'chein nekroyim b'beina mitzarim, b'lashon rabbim. It's in plural. Commotion b'vor b'smoch. We're about to get into that. Now let me see, where is the Test Zion? Let's go down to the next paragraph up above. He says, Gam Tosif Shem Adni, onto this name. So he said, what does he mean by this? Im Ritzei, together with Ritzei, 295, add onto it the name Adni, and what do you get? Shall Elokim Anizkar. And it come back to the same gematria of Shin Yud Nun, which is the circle. Is a Ravidakavin Ke Shnei Bate Dinim Elo Shehem Elokim Va'adni Shehem Sod Bein HAMEITZARIM Shnei HaMitzarim so Shnei Mitzarim Ha'ola Begematria Shin. So these two different types of pain, the pain of the ordinary living in this world. That's what I'm saying. The ordinary living in this world, which is a world which has plenty of suffering in it. And also coming over to the concept of this 295, which is pain by itself. So with this Yismatku, how you're going to sweeten them up? Al Yedei Shlosha Hashemos, so you could do it through these three names, which we mentioned before. Rishona Shetikavanas Behem, Shetikavanta Behem, Bishlosha Brachos of Rishonos, where you made that in the first three brachos, where we got Tad, Koz, and Matz. Add them all up together, they become 360. And you're taking that 360, Ha'olam B'Gematria Shin, Kenizker, Ba'al Yedei Kach. So here we have like a principle he wants to show us, even though that they're different quantities, or different words, let's say, their gematrias are the same. And so he's telling us a principle that you could take the gematria from one place and use it as a sweetener for another place. So if you have Elokim Deheyan plus 65, which is Adni, then you get to 360, you take that 360 and sweeten it with these three names. That's a big deal. So instead of being the Tzara Hashem, so it's a Ritzei, V'yiyu Ritzei Hashem Elokeinu. Let's go down and let's take a look at the where it would start. It would start in the top of the right column on page Kaf Gimel. So he says in light print, Shnei Hashemas and Iskarim, Elokim b'milu hey ba'adni, hey b'bechinu Shnei ba'de dinim. And that's what it says in that little sheet. Shemechem yotzes hatzaros. So ba'de dinim means that their judgments take place, which is lashon din to begin with. So I guess you would say that in this world, we're being judged on our behavior and our attitudes and so on and so forth and our faith all the time. That's Adni. In the meantime, of al Shemam Nikwaim Yamim Aludura Beina Mitzarim. Machbe Shiviyamim Aludul Sholtim Atzara Sayotzim Mishnei Bechinus Tzara. They come for the two different aspects of the word Tzara Halalu. Bezecha Mitzrayim Mitzarim. Lashon Rabbim Shal Tzaros. It's not one pain, it could be many. But the Kabbalah the Matek is Elu Shnei Hashemos. So the idea here is that you have to sweeten these two names. Ayedei Shloshas Hashemos Rishonos, through the three first names that we mentioned before. You already had the kavanah. And the idea now is when you say the word ritzei, is that you're tackling these two names, which are Elokim Dehayin and the Adni, Shal Tefillas Amida. So again, he said, let me say, read it back again, and I'll go on. V'heim Shemas Tad Koz Matz Shagam Heim Olympic is the same gematria. Now, okay, so I think there's a stira in here somewhere that I can't quite place yet. He said that when you're making a chiluf, so there's a principle in chilufim and the coding that he does, that I don't know the principle, but I know that he applies it. So here it is, applies. So he moved to the right, the left, and then he had a center concept, which is matz, which is coming from a very high place. That's also going, I guess that's supposed to be the middle line. So somehow, by switching the letters, you create this possibility of being able to sweeten dinim because of this number 360, which is needs explanation probably. I put an explanation on it, but I don't know exactly why 360 has the ability to sweeten. So we're up here on the light print. And so you have to, when you say the word ritzei, then you should have the kavanah that the ritzei is the product of these three names being switched. The havaya is being switched into these three names. I'm trying to come up with an understanding for myself of what the switches do for you. You know, exactly how is it that you go before it, you go after it, and you'll say like the matz is sort of like in the middle, I think. I'm not sure. Medinim, the racham, how you could take something from din into rachamim, so now instead of tzara, the tzara is Hashem. Now Elokeinu is also lashon din. That you would say base over here that you're changing it into something sweeter. Let's go to number Yud Tes, which is up above. He says, B'birchas Sim Shalom. Now you come over here. So that was one, I think that was not clear to me in the sheet I was reading, but now I have it clear. B'birchas Sim Shalom ba'osa shnei shinim. So now you have two shinim here. Shebarosh teva shall Sim Shalom. So here's another technique. The technique is that we take the first letter of a name. So like in the first letter, we have the concept of Yom Shekulo, that everything is contained in the first letter in some way. So the rest of it, just looking at it real quickly, it's I was looking at the miluyim of these. At any rate, he says, Tekavein el shtei hashinim aniskarim la'el. So shin is gematria 360 again. So this wants to tell us something about the power of 360 to be able to be used as a sweetener for other combinations, which he had there before of the Havaya, the Elokim Dehayin and the 65 of Adni, is to put them together and they match up. Begama Tevas Atzman Shal Sim Shalom, also the words themselves. Shnechem Yachad Olas Begematria Shin. So the two of them together come to the gematria of Shin. Haniskarim Ba'od Yisera Shisha. So it's 360, but there's an extra 6. So he says a Shisha also extra 6. The Keneged Shisha Shemas and Iskarim, going back to it again, Behem Shem Avaya, Beshlosha Tamuros, which are Tad and Koz and Matz, Vishem Elokim, Vishem Adni. All of those things are going to wind up in the same gematria. So again, that concept of the same gematria. So number Yud Tes in the light print, it says Bebirchas Sim Shalom, and that bracha of Sim Shalom. Bebirchas Sim Shalom Yekabein al derek avana shal birchas ritzei. Same kind of thing. V'hu sheyekaben sheroshe tevas Sim Shalom heim shnei osios shin. So we would take those two shinim. The Rav says you could take those two shinim and you could use them. Use them as a sweetener. They're like a sugar. I mean, is it like a sugar? I don't know. It's a sweetener of dinim. So he says osios shin. Shin echad Romans the Shnei Abate Dinim, which we mentioned before, Shehem Elokim b'milui heyan v'shem adni, and that's a concept by itself. The Shin Hasheni Romez al Bitukam, and then the second one talks about their sweetening. And Asar al Yedereb Shlosha Shemus Tad and Koz and Matz Ha'olam Gam Haim B'Gematria Shin. So there's something in this which I don't know the mechanism, but searching for it, thinking about it. Let's see. Then we're going to number Kuf is on the next page, and we'll pick this up. And it says like this. Let's see where we're so he says, Milvad Zeh, besides this, Yikaben, Shetevas Shem Shalom, Olas Bigematria Shin Im Od Vav Yiseri is just spelling it out for us. Behem Romazin, the Mituk Anisker, and it's a reference to the sweetening that we talked about. V'chavav Anosefes, he connected Shisha Shemas on his karam, and this extra vav talks is what do you do with it? Now, to me, I don't really understand how he gets to be able to do this. I mean, there has to be some rule that or some understanding that allows you to take a name and add the components of 6 letters and add that on to teach you something. Shehem Shem Havaya Achas v'Shlosha Chotem, which are Tad, Koz, and Matz. V'chein Shemus Elokim v'Adni. Add them all up. What do you get? You get an extra 6, and those are 6, and that adds up to, if you put that Sim Shalom together, then you're going to get that extra 6. And this tells you that Sim Shalom, I guess it means that this is the action part. This is well, maybe they all are. This is an action part to tell you that Sim Shalom, which means give or place peace, bring peace, that kind of idea, is kind of like the conclusion of this whole idea too, because that's what we're trying to do, trying hard to do that. So let's go over to, we have a little Yud Daled, and we're just really trying to give us some background. There was a Yud Gimel over here too, but we'll go to Yud Daled. Avircha Sim Shalom, he says. That is a siddur, and nidfas chelik beis daf kufches. He says a siddur nar shalom. He says beis shinin shebaroshe tevos yikaven lachamisha shemos elu shebegematria beis shinin tad koz matz begematria shin, and an aleph as then the name Elokim and Havaya. And Elokim, like this, a gematria shin, v'od beis tevos sim shalom, b'gematria beis shinin, v'od vov yiserim, there's another 6 here, keneged havaya, corresponds to the haya, but the gimel tuvurasechem. So he says, take the vaya and the 3 switches, hanal, the Elokim dehayin, also that, v'adni, and Adni, that also can the Adni. So you add all those together, and that gives you the extra. It sounds like it's 5. Am I counting this wrong? It's Elokim. I guess he's making the first as 4. It's Havaya, and then the 3 switches, and then the other 2, which would give you the extra 6. Okay, let's go to the last page and the last part of this. And then we're going to say Shefa Kavonos. He says number Tes Vav Keneged Shisha Shemas and Iskarim Kan the Gabi Birchusim Shalom Lo Hiskir Rav the Al Yedei Shemos Elo. The Rab doesn't mention here that 3. Let me read again. Kan the Gabi Birchusim Shalom Lo Hiskir Rav Al the Al Yedei Shemos Elo Naasas Am Toko. He doesn't say that these names make the Toko. Elarak Kasa Bistam the Kavein B'Shemus Ela, but he just tells us to have this Kabbalah. Ve'eder le'el gabecha bebirchus ritzei Kasa the Al Yidei Shemus Halalu Naasas Hamtoko. So these are the agents of Hamtoko. Okay, so let's just read a little bit. We have another minute or two, and it says over here the Inyan Tisha B'Av Bir Masha Nagu Lahakel B'Chavelus, that really on that day we have to be more lenient about it. At mincha time, it starts lightening up. What does he mean by this? He says, Masha Nagu, number Aleph, Masha Nagu B'Yom Tisha B'Av, the mincha, that we have a custom lomer pesukim shal nechamos. V'gam l'kum l'shaves ala sapsalon lamala, we could sit in chairs. V'ad rabba nirach min the Talmud, that is the Talmud Babli, ki le'ez erev atzitzo eish behechel. This is really when the fire spread. B'yom Tesha B'Av, v'nis rechav beis hamincha, be'ez hamincha. V'kafi zecha b'hoya roy lahachmer b'mincha yosef b'shachar. Now, as a Baal Shuva, I just want to add this, is that they used to say, in my opinion, my experience, that it was a miracle that the stones burned, so that the stones don't burn. So how did the Beis HaMikdash burn? Then I came later, and they were saying like this, because I used to contribute to this group that was buying houses in the old city. And they're telling me that's not what happened. He said that they poured oil all over the Beis HaMikdash and set it on fire. And they burnt everything up that way. Everything collapsed. So that was another idea. I just thought I'd share that, how different information comes along, and then you take that. Okay, that's it for today. So we'll get into it tomorrow, and maybe we'll get into Tikkun Utzos also. Kol Tov.